The April 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Board and Zoning Adjustment will come to order. It is approximately 6:08 p.m. Board Secretary, can you please call roll?
All right. Ms. Childs.
Here.
Mr. Nieves.
Here.
Mr. Perkel.
Here.
Ms. Hand.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Armstead.
Here.
And Mr. Gear.
All members have been given an opportunity to review the draft minutes of the March 12, 2025 meeting. Are there any changes or corrections to the meeting minutes? There being none, as many in favor, let's for a motion to pass, say aye.
Aye.
For those that oppose, say nay. And those that abstain, of course, say aye. The ayes have it, and the minutes are approved. Let's continue with the communications and reports from the chair and vice chair. Recently, I have been appointed as chair, and I just want to say thank y'all for your support, and as well as I'd like to say, Ms. Childs, congratulations on being vice chair there. Are there any other minutes or any other items that you'd like to communicate to us? No. I'll close the communications down here. Let's see. Old business. Currently, there's no old business, and we'll move forward to the new business. Let's start with the case number SV 250401. Let me pause there for a second. I need to make sure that going forward here that we kind of share the importance of what this board is and what it's comprised of. So this board is composed of 5 persons and 2 supernumeraries and is empowered by the Alabama State Legislature, but appointed by the City Council and is charged with hearing petitions for relief from a literal and a strict application of the zoning code. Cases are heard in the order in which they are filed. Motions are made in the positive, and each case requires a positive vote of at least 4 members. A simple majority will not approve an action. So a 3-2 will not approve an action. The burden of proof for variances and special exceptions rests with the petitioner. Variances granted shall lapse and be of no effect if, after expiration of 1 year from the date of such approval, no construction pursuant to such variance has taken place, provided that the Board of Zoning and Adjustment may, for good cause shown, specify a longer period of time conjunction with its action to grant the variance. Any party aggrieved by any decision of this board may, within 15 days, file a written notice to appeal of the circuit court. And let me move down here. I know I've skipped through a few things here, but we're going to go to new business, and would like to call the case SV 250401. That's 857 Sylvia Drive. May the applicant or property owner approach, please. Please state your name and write that down for us.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Lacey Danley. I am the property owner at 857 Sylvia Drive. I live there with my husband Brandon and our 3 children, our 2.5-year-old twin boys and our 5-month-old little girl, and my disabled mother part-time. I'm kind of gonna, if you don't mind, go through a little bit of background about how we got here, a little bit through the design process, interactions with staff. Then we're gonna talk about the code references just a little bit and what I believe the research shows regarding the actual variance, and then we'll address the hardship issue, if that's okay. Okay. So, like I said, we live here. We had gone through the design process and we get to the point of issuing a permit, and then that's when the discovery is made that there is we did have, a setback problem with a second story. In meeting with the staff and doing all that, and to answer one of the questions that was posed during the work session, yes, we are living there. Yes, it is not being torn down. We are all staying in the house on the first floor. The second floor is constructed, and then you kind of swap and let them do some renovations in the first floor. But you are living through the construction. As we start to go through the process with the staff, our drawings did look a little bit different at first. They had our carport was completely attached to our house, and we felt like instead of asking for a variance for that, we would fall more in line with what the code requires, which is that we ask for the minimum amount necessary to still be able to use the property right enjoyed by us. And so we agreed to proffer the carport. We weren't going to ask for a variance for the carport. We take it down. It is now actually gone as far as as part of the first permit demolition. The other part of the drawings had the screened-in porch that we were replacing in line with the current existing house. To bring that in conformity with the coding regulations, we pulled that back in to where the only variance that we are asking for is to be able to put the second story on an existing footprint. Now, the staff recommended that would be a good way that way we were not over asking, which we were happy to do. We agreed with that. However, what I think is important here is that what sets this one apart from probably a lot of the other variance requests that you get is I'm not even convinced by looking at the legal research that a variance is actually required by your code. And y'all are going to look at me like, what in the world? Because the very definition of a setback indicates that you are encroaching in on a property line or you are expanding an encroachment nonconformity further. In this scenario, we are doing neither, because the definition of adding a second story does not do that. And I've got some case law from the Alabama Supreme Court that talks about that very thing, so that I think it's very instructive into what the decision you guys have got to make. Thank you very much. So this was a still good law from Alabama Supreme Court. It was out of the city of Fairhope in a very similar situation to what we did. The Board of Zoning Adjustment issued the variance, issued the permit that this adding a second story on a garage should take place. You had some very unhappy neighbors in that scenario. They sued them. They went up. Trial court said, yeah, that BZA, you were wrong to approve it. Supreme Court said, well, not so fast. And they came back and they said, and I'm going to read from the pertinent part here, to say, the Bravers wanted to add a second story to their garage. It is undisputed that the garage was existing in the Fairhope zoning ordinance was passed in 1975. It is also undisputed that the garage was grandfathered in by the specific language of the 75 ordinance. The garage had been there 4 years and did not meet the 5-foot side setback requirement of 75. The garage was replaced about 86 after termites and still did not comply with the 5-foot side setback. And I'm going to skip on down a little bit. And they read the code about how an existing nonconformity is fine as it is, right, which is the same thing we have here. The circuit court's judgment affirming the issuance of a building permit would have been proper under the arbitrary and capricious standard review set. We conclude that the ordinance permits the addition sought by the Bravers. The proposed second story, like the original garage, will not conform to the 5-foot setback requirement, but it will not increase the building's nonconformity and will not otherwise violate the ordinance. So I think the key thing that this request is doing versus others is it is not asking to encroach any further on a nonconformity or not further violate an ordinance, which I think is very key in a distinction in the evaluation process. As we talked about in our application, our house was legally built under previous zoning rules. It was built in 1953. Even the zoning for the setback and the NPD district didn't come in, I believe, until the 70s, give or take? Somewhere in there. From my research, it made clear it's either the 70s or the late 80s that some of those setback requirements started to come into play. So my house was legally built under those existing zoning rules. They unfairly impact our ability to expand vertically. And I say that it's the interpretation of the same, because if you look at your code section, it talks about what is the definition of an alteration, and a change in the location of exterior walls of a building or structure. Then it goes on to say some more things, but that was part is key. We're not changing the exterior wall to come forward. We are not changing the exterior wall to go down. The exterior wall is just getting taller, which is not quite the same in the definition of a setback, which is why I argue that the variance is, the interpretation of the code may not even require it, but nonetheless, we're here, and that's what I think we should look, we're going to go through that anyway. But when you start talking about where our hardship gives us, the way that this code is being interpreted is essentially creating a hamstring for us to where you cannot expand back, you cannot expand vertically because of the interpretation that going vertically would have to bring in your either first floor footprint, which is no one has ever had to do that. You don't have to, that's unnecessary and unfair burden. And more importantly, the more I have researched this and talked to my contractors, my architects, other contractors and architects and engineers, that the best practices for construction illustrate that the weight of the exterior second floor needs to be on those existing exterior foundation walls, because weight needs to be on weight. So in interpreting this code ordinance in this way creates a code-based hardship for us, because then it creates a situation where we are forced to either build a house not in best compliance with best practices by scooting a second floor in, not to mention the aesthetics of it are weird and look terrible, but from a safety and structural integrity standpoint, it is the best practice to do that with weight on weight, with the exterior walls holding all of that weight, as opposed to the weight of the second floor being in 2 feet on a non-exterior foundation and wall. Am I making sense here? I guess so. Sorry, I ramble when I get nervous, and so anyway. So that's kind of where we start talking about hardship with the best practices, and all the case law that I could research talks about that is exactly what the hardship is. The interpretation of an ordinance cannot do. The interpretation of an ordinance cannot create a code-based hardship on the fact that that the footprint is already in place and it's not going to encroach any further. You're not changing anything, but a strict and literal interpretation of that going up is the same thing as coming in closer is what is creating a hardship as far as like making us build a house that is not structurally best practice. Like I said, we came back and that was the least modification we needed to be able to continue with the second story addition, and without it, we argue that we are unfairly restricted as to others in the same district. And one of the other parts of the code that I would point you to is it's section 17.25. It talks about that your job is to preserve and protect the character of the district, and all of these conditions exist, which y'all are familiar with the application, you know what it says. I think all of these are met. But especially, it's not resulting from any part of the applicant. We didn't create this. If you want to call it that, we had 3 kids and a disabled mother. But other than that, we did not create the fact that our house was already built that way. The authorizing of the variance will not impair an adequate supply of light, et cetera, et cetera. Diminish or impair the property values within the surrounding areas, or in other respect impair the health, safety, or inhabitants of the city, or variance. From looking at that, our support for this is overwhelming, if I were to say so myself. There's not only no opposition, but our neighbors are strongly in support of that, which is the heart of this ordinance, saying that you're not going to unfairly diminish or impair the established property value of other people, because it doesn't, as you know, the variance doesn't come with me, it comes with my property. And so just knowing that everybody's in support. Do y'all have questions about any of that? I know I just unloaded a lot of information.
I want to just say thank you for giving us the details there. It is a public hearing, and before I ask that there's any support or any other one that want to speak up, there's anything else that you would like to go over in presenting your case?
Yeah, I think it's just important to go back to Supreme Court case law. It makes it really clear that what I'm asking you guys to do, there is adequate legal support for it. That's, to me, that is about as, they say the best argument I can make is right there. what I'm asking you to do, there is ample grounds and legal support for it. So,
And the way this process will go is we'll open it up for the public to speak on your behalf, for or against, and then we'll open it up for the board to ask questions
Okay.
directly. So
all right.
is there
Sounds good.
anyone in the public portion here who would like to speak? Please state your name when on the microphone and write your name and address down for us, please.
I'm Natasha Sisk.
And I'm David Sisk.
And we are Lacey and Brandon's next door neighbors. If you're facing their house, we are on the right.
Could you state your address so we know?
It's 861 Sylvia Drive.
Thank you.
And we are here to support our neighbors in their addition to their home. We have no problem with what they're doing. We think it'll be a great addition to the neighborhood and, hope that this goes well. So, you got anything you want to add? All right.
All right,
Thanks.
thank you.
Good evening, I'm Melinda Sellers. This is the first time I've appeared before you ever not representing someone. I am here on my own behalf. I live on Sylvia Drive as well, 841 Sylvia Drive, and I'm here to respectfully request that you grant this variance. I have read over the case law that Lacey's presented to you tonight. I've read the code ordinance. I do agree with her that this is probably a situation where they shouldn't have to seek a variance, but she's here at your mercy. And so I respectfully request that you all grant this variance. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Catherine Herndon. I live at 849 Sylvia Drive, so I live one house over from Lacey and Brandon. I've lived on Sylvia Drive for 25 years, over 25 years now, and I'll tell you that I really welcome the types of improvements that Lacey and Brandon are planning for their home. It does nothing but benefit Sylvia Drive, an area of Homewood that I've come to love. And I've seen it grow from 0 kids on the block to 15 kids on the block over time. These are the types of improvements that we need on Sylvia Drive. It helps everyone. It helps our neighborhood. It helps our property value. It's good for us. It's good for Homewood. So I respectfully ask that you approve their variance. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rachel Higgs. I live at 820 Sylvia Drive, so just around the corner, and I just would respectfully ask that you approve this request as well. Thanks.
My name is Joshua Dean. I don't live on Sylvia Drive. I'm the contractor who would like to build this project. I just want to let you guys know that the city of Homewood was recognized earlier this year when we had completed a similar project on 801 Sylvia Drive and submitted it at the National Association of Home Builders Best in American Living Awards. And the project at 801 won, it was entered called Homewood Edition, and it won the gold award, for the category Home Edition in the United States. 801 Sylvia won. So we'd like to do a very similar style project, and as the neighbors have testified, hopefully increase the value of the property and the aesthetic thereof as well. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Ben Strout. I am the architect on this. I live at 713 Salter Lane, so not far from in Homewood. And yeah, I think the thing I would say to this is just structurally, I don't love putting that exterior wall inboard at all. What we're trying to do is maintain the integrity of how the house needs to be built the best way. And so that's my primary concern, is just to make sure that it's built and stable and that we don't have any issues in the future from it. So hopefully you can grant it. Appreciate you guys.
And it looks like we do not have anyone else from the public. We'd like to close the public portion down and open up questions here for the board. Ms. Danley, you may want to approach here.
I had a question.
Sure.
I think last minute I figured out where your house was.
Mhm.
Where your house is off of Salter, it dips down a bit, right? And it goes down, and then that other house that this gentleman mentioned is the one right up to
So like, you know
Salter?
where the horseshoe is
Yeah.
on Sylvia? So the other house that Josh mentioned is the one on the corner. And mine is, yes, mine is the dip down right there, yeah.
Okay. I always thought that second story addition there was great.
Yeah, it's, and just as a side note, I am a huge plant person, and so like I have gardenias in the back of my yard that have been there for 20-something years. And the idea of, even if I could go back a little bit further, even within, the idea of destroying the gardenias, the camellias, and all the other like shrubs that we have built 10 years ago when we, moved into this house, that, I know it sounds kind of silly, but that actually really hurts my heart, because some of those camellias were planted from my birthday. They were planted when my children were born, and those are things that you can't get back. Yes, structurally, and I'm also a little bit concerned structurally about a water problem. My husband does that for a living, and having a flat surface, we have a similar situation at my office building where we have a flat portion of our roof, and that water, if it does not drain just perfectly, then you end up with water down the sides of your walls. I really don't want water down the sides of my walls from having that to scoot in. Okay, other questions?
So just one last
Mhm.
one. So there's already a bunch of two-story homes on that street already, right?
They're,
Like off by the back where the
right,
hill
they're
goes
up there, there's
Yeah.
two, and see, that one right there, that's actually been updated since those pictures were taken, so that's now a second story.
Yeah.
That garage and all that, that was confirmed, that was turned into a first story, like, master suite and all that, since that's been done. Keep going around. If you go all the way on around to the other corners where you see they've put a second story in that one, even though it's not finished. See it in the corner?
Yeah.
It's been sitting there for a while, I don't know why, but, and then, of course, Daniel and Amanda on the corner that put the second story on theirs.
You're not pushing out the back wall?
The
Is it
back
range?
on the side where it's, I'm not say perfect, but I am within setback rules on if you're facing it, my right side of my house, so on the gray side there. That is coming out a little bit there, but there's no setback issue there. We're not pushing out the house or the porch or anything on the side that is the 8.2. We are just putting on top of that, it's the other side picture. That's the right side. That side, yeah. Hang on. It's the left as you're looking at it.
You're
That's
not
the-
increasing the non-conforming?
Absolutely not. In any way, shape, and form.
Ken, for the case law side, are we talking about the word change on the walls, the word non-conforming, or is it an argument about grandfathering based upon the prior setbacks? Just want to try to understand it better.
Let me make sure I understand your question. You're asking me where I think that in the code, based on that case law, that I don't actually need the variance? Okay. Where I see it in your definitions is the alteration, that it talks about a change in the location of any exterior walls of building or structure. And then when you also start researching on, I have spent way too much time delving into y'all's building code and city ordinances, but when you start talking about the definition of setback and nonconforming property, adding on to a nonconforming property by definition is moving in, like even making the encroachment further close, like basically I'm going further in or I'm making it further back. I'm doing neither of those two things. And the argument is kind of like the Supreme Court kind of puts all that in a nice tight bow where they talk about you had an existing nonconforming structure like we have here. You had a grandfathered in, like my house would be now, where you don't have to do anything to the first floor, but and then arguably it's because it's not changing, my house is the same way, it's not making an additional nonconformity and it's otherwise not violating the ordinance. And so that kind of gets us back to the hardship part. It is the strict and literal interpretation that going up actually requires that, and it has to be within that 2 feet in, that's creating a code-based hardship.
So how have we applied the word change?
It's actually in the, Article 3, which addresses the non-conforming uses and structures. It's in section G of Article 3. Under modifications, it says non-conforming structures can be maintained, repaired, and modified, provided such maintenance, repair, and modifications do not increase, enlarge, or alter the non-conforming structure in a way which increases the structure's nonconformity. It has always been the city's interpretation and enforcement of this that the height of a nonconforming structure is also an issue. Variances, while they do grant permission for the applicant to do things, are also reviewed to protect the neighbors. That's why neighbors get the letters so that they can see and they know what's going on. A couple of the members I know have reviewed variances before where there was a non-conforming structure, they wanted to put a second story, and it was just, and the house was closer to the property line than this one. But by raising the height of that non-conforming structure, it really affected the neighbor more than it did just sitting there as a single-story structure. This house is currently a little over 17 feet in height and will be 34 plus in height once it's finished. It's going to double its height. If it were if this house were, say, 5 feet from the property line, that would make a big difference to the neighbor. You're affecting their light, you're affecting, so the city's position has always been that by going up, raising the height should require a variance for that second story because you are enlarging the nonconformity by affecting the neighbors with the height.
I'm going to ask this question, it doesn't mean I'm suggesting it.
Okay.
But in order for them to conform, they would have to move the left side wall in to conform with the 10-foot setback.
Correct, which may not be possible without altering the first floor.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
They would have to
I
move
mean,
the first floor.
The first floor would have to come in also for it to
Couldn't they
support it.
put like a low bearing beam on the first floor? I mean, like if they really had to?
I don't know. I mean, getting into the design and construction.
Structurally, right, they could. It's just gonna be insanely expensive, right?
There's always a way to do something.
Well, she presented that a load bearing second story couldn't go in because it suggested structurally to be on the first story of the variance walls. And I'm saying that buildings can be built structurally with the second story coming in. It's just more
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, I guess my point is it technically would still be non-conforming based upon what we're talking about, even if they did the second story inside of the setback. So really, what we're saying is either we grant a variance, or the requirement would be that in order to do this second story addition, they would have to move the first floor wall in to conform with the current setbacks.
Which, if I may respond to that.
We've had other variances where, other incidences where they decided to bump in a second-story addition so that they didn't have to request a variance.
But I guess the reason I'm asking that is because it's existing non-conforming, right?
Yes,
So we would leave it non-conforming?
The first story.
yes. You're, the,
Second story.
Yeah, but that doesn't make it conforming.
But isn't this, I mean, I definitely understand where you're coming from, but isn't it a little moot at this point because the variance is already under review, so discussing whether or not it should have needed a variance or not is not under our purview because
Right.
the variance
It's
is already
here.
here, and so we
Right.
just
it's here, it's for
we
you to
just need
review.
vote.
Whether it
Right.
should be
Yeah.
here, if she is aggrieved by it having to come to you, she has 15 days to file a notice with the circuit court.
Yeah.
Yeah, listen, I'm just simply was trying to understand if we're asking for it to conform entirely, or if we're asking, like, I'm just trying to understand if the
No,
house needs
we
to
are
conform.
asking for a second story to be, the
Good.
wall of the second story to be where the wall of the first floor is. So it's gonna be sitting at the same non-conforming distance.
And does
Correct.
that constitute an expansion of a non-conforming use, which in the past has typically justified a variance? When you expand a non-conforming, going up is an expansion of a non-conforming use.
If I
That's the
may
issue.
And one of
speak to
the,
one thing, quick. One of the pieces of information that you guys have in front of you talks about that the non-conforming or use in buildings in same district, basically, Part G, or whether what you did or didn't do in previous ones really has no bearing on what you do here. Whether someone else came before you and asked for a variance or scooted theirs in has no bearing on what you're doing in front of you right now. That's in that Part G of that Article 9, Section B variances, that Part G. So I just respectfully ask that you talk about, that we look at what's in front of you, because I can't speak to what other people did or what they didn't do or why they didn't do or what they did or what they, did or didn't do. But what I am is, I would ask that you vote and grant our request based on what's in front of you today. Thank you.
I would ask, can the city provide us a copy of what she's referencing for the future?
Yeah, for the case law?
Yes.
Yeah.
if you would like it, sure.
And you're only asking for that setback on the one side. The
Correct.
other one's already, it's already a foot and a half
Right.
greater than what.
Yeah, correct.
And the side that you're asking the variance on is the high side with your neighbor, correct?
The low side.
Yes,
The high
the
s-
hills on the right side.
Hills on the side of the
left.
variance, right?
The left is the shorter side.
Wait, okay, I looked at it wrong, then can we pull
I
it
thought
back
the
up?
left side is where the hill goes down.
So you see the carport, that carport's actually gone now, but it's the other side.
It's the side that has the gray house on it?
Correct.
And is that higher elevation than yours or not?
Is this?
It's the same.
Is this incorrect then?
Oh, I guess it just looks higher because it was the angle of the Google Earth.
No, no, the dark gray one, yes, is taller than mine, yes. Substantially. I think our houses will be probably about the same height once they
The
get
angle
Tasha when
looks
it's
like
all
it's
said and
going
done.
uphill there, but maybe it's just the angle of the
It
camera.
is going uphill.
No, it's,
But that's the left side that we're asking, she's asking for the variance, where it is on the lower side of the house. Yeah, so like the left side is going down the hill.
Oh, okay, I see it now, my bad, okay, I see it now.
and I would like to point out that you also have a letter from Miss Pamela Hickman as well.
And she's the lowest? She's the
She
lowest
is.
side? Yeah, okay, because that's the one I was wondering about.
Yeah, so it will be higher than the right side, it's just the
Yeah.
left side. But the
The slope, yeah.
Any other questions you guys have for me?
I move to approve BZA case SV-25-04-01, 857 Sylvia Drive.
Second.
It is rightly moved and second to approve case SV 250401, 857 Sylvia Drive. A request for a variance to Article 4, District Uses, Section A of the NPD. This is, just to confirm, this is for a setback along the left side property line from 10 foot to 8.1 feet for a total reduction of 1.9 feet. And this is to construct a second story addition to the existing non-conforming primary structure. This request is in accordance with Article 11, Section B of the City of Homewood zoning ordinance. So the chair would recognize, I apologize here, I'm following the script here and I've lost my place here. But can I say have that roll call or for a vote call, please?
Yes, you may. All right. Ms. Childs.
Yes.
Mr. Nieves.
Yes.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes.
Ms. Hand.
Yes.
And Mr. Perkel.
Yes. I would say the ayes have it and the motion carries here.
Thank you very much.
You have 1 year to apply for your permit. Thank you.
And the IT guy actually has that case law that he put on the screen in an email, so if y'all want to get it, you got it? Okay, then so y'all have that. Okay, thank y'all.
I would like to call the next case, which is SV 250402, 2919 Parkridge Drive. And the agent approach, state your name, address.
Good evening. My name's Timothy Cortman. We live at 2919 Parkridge Drive, and we have 2 requests for variances tonight. We are adding an addition off the back of the house, and the hardship for the addition, as well as the second variance, which is a redoing of a current deck, open-air deck. The hardship is converging lot lines, so it's a pretty irregular shaped lot. It's pie-shaped, so the lot lines actually converge to a point in the back of the lot, as you can see here. And just a little bit of history about this house. We bought this house, I think 12 years ago now. We've raised our kids in this house. My son is about to go to 6th grade. The location of this is right around the corner from Central Park, and pretty much a congregating area for my kids' friends and as well as our friends. We host our small group here and all that, and we need a bit more space, so that's the reason for the addition off the back of the house, as well as sort of a redo of the kitchen and some other interior elements on the first floor.
I'd like to ask, would there be anything else that you would like to share with us before we move to the public portion? Let me ask this: would you like for us to consider for both of these variants to be voted on independently
I
or
would.
together?
I would like for them to be voted on independently.
Okay. Currently, we're going to close this portion, open it up to the public. Does anyone like to speak on for or behalf? I do not see anyone approaching, so we're going to open up here for the board for questions.
Did y'all look at trying to make, I guess, shorten the addition?
We did. We had it drawn the way that you see in the plans, and then when we found out that we were gonna have to apply for a variance, we did look at redraw, we actually did redraw them. And it resulted in cascading effects of the other interior changes, so we would have to adjust, you know, kitchen placement, laundry placement, placements of doors, things of that nature. So pretty impactful in terms of the overall design of the interior. And considering, you know, my neighbors, not my neighbor to the left of the house, but that Sheeter Shake House actually goes very, very far beyond this current structure of mine, as do other houses on the street. And I think that really my hardship is, if it were a normally shaped lot, this variance wouldn't even be required. So the fact that we're going back, I don't think has much effect on the rest of the neighbors, but that's up to you to determine.
Do you know how far back we have to pull it to get it from 7'9" to 10 foot?
Yeah, I think it's, we would have to pull it back and in by 2.5 feet on each side. So on the back and on the left side of the property. We also did look at, so as you notice here, there's an alley. It's not actually an alley. I mean, it's an easement of the city in between our two homes. We did look at potentially coming to the board to absorb that in between the two homes, so that we would gain some of this space potentially. But my next door neighbor on the left there, her name is Rhonda Montgomery. She's lived there for 30 years. She's 87. I just didn't want to put her through the process of that whole thing. But
On that note, I'd received a telephone call from her. She says she doesn't have a computer and she couldn't come down here. She's not in good health, but she wanted me to convey to the board that she supported your proposal. But
okay.
by telephone, but she was.
She's sweet.
Yeah.
Did we talk about vacating that alley?
I just mentioned that for a second.
Right, but have we ever talked about it?
I don't think so.
Okay.
at least not since I've lived there. Yeah, it's not actually an alley, it's just an alley on the,
Right,
yeah.
it's city right.
Yeah, yes, yes,
Unimproved.
right. Yeah, so a lot of those actual two trees, that second tree that actually came down a few, like, maybe 6 months ago, it died. This tree here and that tree back there, I think are actually in the alley.
That's what it was. We took the tree down.
Yes, you took this
Yeah,
back tree
that-
right here, yes.
That's why I've looked at this.
And that was
I knew there was a
that was
reason.
through Rhonda.
Yeah,
That contacted the city for that, yes.
What did you say, Gail, that was the reason for?
We took the tree down because Rhonda called and said that there was an alley. I was surprised.
He just
that-
remembered the alley.
I just remembered the alley.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now it's all tied together,
Yeah.
Mhm.
but it's not like an accessible alley. That's the alley, right there where the trees are.
Yes.
It's a paper alley. I do have one question. I do have one question, because I was looking at the photos of rear of the house. Brian, can you go to the photos of the rear of the house? I think they're in this application. That, right
Yes.
there.
Mhm.
So that deck, even though it is unroofed, has a brick foundation, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I know you mentioned that you worked on trying to figure out the interior of your addition. Did you consider like a workaround for your deck as well?
We did.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a part of sort of the redoing of all of that.
Yeah.
And I definitely, and that's kind of why we decided to split up the variances
Oh,
into
yeah.
two votes. Because I think that the deck has the ability to potentially be reworked. It'll just make the deck a smaller space.
Yeah.
The thing that we wanted to, considering it's existing and it's open
Yeah.
air, we figured we would hopefully get the
Yeah.
space and get approved there. But it is an opportunity. There is opportunity to rework that if
Yeah.
needed on the deck side.
Brian, will you go to the next one, please, the next photo? Thank you. So this is the existing deck
Yes, ma'am.
on a brick foundation.
How
So
is-
it's not like an open deck, that, it is open in that it is not roofed,
Mhm.
but it's not open like you would consider a traditional deck that is just sitting above dirt. So it's,
How is it changing? I think I missed
they
that.
just want to
Redeck
put-
it?
rebuild the deck.
Oh,
is
but
that-
like,
what's-
is the brick foundation changing?
Right, that's
The
my
brick
question.
foundation would stay where it is, correct?
I think the brick is, this whole area in the back would be torn off, so there is opportunity for us, if the variance was granted, to not brick around the deck and for it to be just a normal deck. I think in our plans, do you remember, Greg, if that was brick on the deck side?
No.
It was not, okay.
Okay, so the brick will go away.
The brick will go away, yes.
With the
On the
existing
addition
deck.
part, it will,
Yeah, yeah.
it will be.
Oh,
yeah.
so
Okay.
everything on the deck is getting rebuilt?
Correct.
The wood, the
Yes.
space,
The brick is going away.
Yes.
There will be no brick underneath the new deck.
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. I just wanted all of that to be clarified because it might make a difference.
Mhm.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
For
A and B.
variance
Yeah.
A,
A.
the request for
It is-
reducing the side setback to 7'9", a reduction of 2.1 feet for the primary existing structure.
I second that motion.
All right, so, there, okay. All right,
Should we do the deck
You
first?
wanna do- you can do them in whatever order you wanna do them, I suppose, but you just made a motion for the first request, which is regarding the primary structure, the addition to the primary structure, not the deck.
that's right.
Okay.
My
That's right.
question, should the deck come first?
Is whatever A is.
Okay, that was A.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, it's been moved and seconded.
The house is A.
Correct.
I'll now
And
call
Mr.
for-
Secretary, I would just say it's rightly moved and second to approve that, the A section of SV 250402.
Okay.
And could we have a roll call there for the vote?
Yes, you may. All right, Ms. Childs?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Nieves?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Second. All right. Ms. Hand?
Yes.
And Mr. Purple?
Yes. The yeses have it, the motion carries. Your request has been granted, and please contact Ms. Emily Harris Miller on how to proceed with the A variance request.
Thank you.
Could I get a motion for the second?
I motion to approve BZA case SB -25-04-02, Part B, in regards to the variance for the left side property line from 5 feet to 2 feet for a total reduction of 3 feet in order to construct the open deck.
I second.
It's rightly moved and second to approve this case, SV 2504-02B.
All right,
And can
Miss-
we get a roll call?
you're right. Ms. Hand?
No.
All right. Mr. Johnson?
No.
All right. Mr. Nieves?
Yes.
All right. Ms. Childs?
Yes.
And Mr. Purple?
No. Your request for this variance has been denied. If you have any questions, you can contact Ms. Emily Harris Miller on how to proceed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
We're going to call our last case, which is SV 25-04-03, 105 Knoll Crest Drive. May the applicant or homeowner please approach and state your name and address.
Hey, my name's Charlie Scott, owner of 105 Knollcrest Drive. Apologies, my wife's out of town and couldn't find a sitter. So here we are. But yeah, our current structure is non-compliant at 9.6 feet from the setback limit, and we're seeking to reduce the setback from the 10 feet to the 9.6 for a reduction of 0.64 feet. And planning to do a addition just to continue that line of the 9.6 feet. So yeah. We are expecting a second, and so I currently am in our guest bedroom and work from home, and so trying to add a small office space and expand our kitchen so that we can make room for our second, so. That's about all I got.
Okay. Well, we'll close this portion and open it up to the public. Is there anyone that would like to speak on this case? I do not see anyone approaching, so we'll close the public portion and open it up to the board for any questions.
Would the addition be wood or?
Brick. Oh, I think it's if you look at our current structure, it's a little bit of both on that back piece. There's brick at the bottom and wood at the top, so it would kind of be both.
Because if the brick, where you have wood siding, it looks like that 4 to 5 inches that you're requesting, it steps back. So if the addition were the wood, you may not have to get a variance.
But even if it were, I mean, it would have to be wood all the way to the ground because it would be measured from the closest point. So are you drawing it? Did you just draw it? Draw him a picture? Yeah. Okay.
I'd just like to ask, is there any other type of renovations that'll be happening to the existing home where you're making those connections as far as on the variance side request?
Yeah, no.
Does the large tree come out?
The what, sorry?
Is there the large tree?
Oh,
Is
it's
that in the-
it's been removed. In the back?
Correct.
Yeah, it's been removed.
I motion to approve SB-25-0403-105 Knoll Crest Drive.
I'll second it.
It's rightly moved and second as to approve case SV 250403, 105 Knoll Crest Drive, per Article 4, Section A. This is to reduce the required setback along the right side property line from 10 feet to 9.6 feet for a total reduction of 0.4 feet in order to construct a rear addition to the existing non-conforming primary structure. This request is in accordance with Article 11, Section B of the City of Homewood zoning ordinance. I'd like to ask Mr. Secretary for a roll call vote, please.
All right. Ms. Hand,
No.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Mr. Nieves,
Yes.
Ms. Childs,
Yes.
and Mr. Purple.
Yes. The yeses have it, and motion carries. Your request has been granted, so please contact Ms. Emily Harris Miller for how to proceed forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Where are you going? You liked that I said no, and you said yes?
That will
You liked that I said no, and you said yes?
end our cases here, and I'd just like to open the communications from staff if you'd like to provide any information to us.
Just happy birthday to Mr. Johnson.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah, he's fortunate to have him spend his birthday with us.
That-
46.
Indeed fortunate.
Oh, any further communications? Well, I'll adjourn. Thank you.